Hey, this is Sahil. You're listening to the Studio 21 Show, where I get to talk with the people designing the Bitcoin products that we use every single day. Today, I have Mia White, who is an independent designer who's worked with a bunch of companies that you've probably heard of, like Mutiny, Bull Bitcoin, Zaprite, and a bunch more. And it was really, really fun. We're good friends, and we got to walk and talk on the Austin Trail again, which is always fun. It was nice and chilly. So yeah, I hope you enjoy my walk and talk with Mia. But yeah, thanks for, I guess now we can kind of start. Ooh, so official.
Okay.
But yeah. No, thanks for walking and talking with me, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
We were just talking about that, but I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start. I guess I do know where to start. That's a lie.
Okay.
Because I don't really know much about your background.
Uh-huh.
Just a lot of people I've talked to, I know about their background.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about how you started, how you got into design. How did you find this whole thing? So I'm mostly just curious about that, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. I think I never really told you about it. Okay, so I don't have how do you say this, a training in design. Like I didn't go to university for it. I finished a bachelor in business, majoring in marketing and minoring in finance. And then after that, I worked for an advertising agency. And I was a project manager. And so I was touching basically all the aspects of the agency, and I was like front facing with the client. And I was looking at what the designers were doing, and I thought it was so cool. Like it was this typical, advertising agency, like designer wearing all black and working on these like huge screens,
glasses or whatever.
Glasses. And the client that I had at the time, it was a very, very regulated industry. So not much could be done online. And it also was an old industry. It was the tobacco industry. And so what the designers were doing at my agency, it was mostly prints and events and things like that. And then slowly at the agency, they started to do more projects web-based, even though it was like pretty regulated. Anyways, so when I saw what the designers were doing, I was like, oh, maybe I could be that. But I have like zero training, and it took me a long time to decide to do that because I wasn't sure. And I thought it was like sort of a big risk to basically throw away my bachelor degree in a sense and do that. And then after a year and a half, I took the leap and I kind of went to a school like specialized in design.
Oh.
But I kind of dropped out of that school quite quickly because COVID happened. And
you said because COVID happened?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wow.
And for some reason, the school was not able to adapt itself with giving education online. And they were also requesting to pay the same amount of money per semester. And it was very expensive because it was like an intensive 1 year, like a boot camp.
Boot camp, right.
And you do it, Yeah, and I dropped out because I thought it wasn't fair that I have to pay the same amount when I receive less from my teachers.
Wow.
And at the time, I was talking to someone.
We can beef anything. Yeah. It's all good.
Anyways, at the same time.
Yeah.
And I got introduced to that online course for UI and UX design. And I knew like when I started that graphic design school, I wanted to do also their quick boot camp for web design. I was like, even though I saw a lot of prints and events design and all that, I kind of quickly realized, a lot of things goes online and I need to be able to do that.
More like web stuff or like UI, UX rather than product design rather than graphic design maybe.
Exactly. And so when I saw that course was by Eric Kennedy. I don't know if you know him.
I don't actually know.
Well, he's a designer that is self-taught as well, but he has, I think, an engineering background, and he was really able to dissect like a formula what makes good design. And so he sells this online course that you can do at your own pace, and you have people reviewing your work as well. And so I did that, and that really leveled up my web design and my product design. And
Really quick, that
yeah.
reminds me of, have you heard of MDS?
MDS, yes.
Shift Nudge, yeah, it sounds
Yeah,
exactly
yes.
like Shift Nudge.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say Shift Nudge is probably more beautifully designed course.
Ah,
I haven't done it, but just the website and all that, I feel it's prettier, I guess.
prettier. Okay.
Would say, but anyways. But yeah, it's in the same vein. I think Eric just came with his course first, and then Shift Nudge followed
Yeah.
after. And so I did that course, and then from that course, I started basically to find clients.
Oh,
And
wow.
then from word of mouth, someone that I knew needed a designer for their projects, and I did it like very cheaply. I just wanted some experience. And then they were my first client.
Okay,
And
so
then,
you basically really quickly went through some sort of boot camp to learn
yeah.
basics,
Mhm.
and then pretty much right away you were finding clients.
Yeah.
Is it because you knew people in a specific niche, or you were just like, it was unrelated to this niche? It was like,
I knew specific people in the niche.
wow, okay.
I mean, it does help, you know.
Totally.
But yeah, it's who you know and who's willing to give you your chance.
Yeah.
And then after that, that person needed more work for other projects, and I got involved too. And then when I really started to work more into Bitcoin, I got involved in the Bitcoin design group on their Slack at the time.
Yeah.
And I participated in projects there just to get some experience, know more about Bitcoin. Also at the time, I really wanted to know more about Lightning because I didn't understand it.
I do remember looking at your Twitter, like scrolling back down,
Yeah.
and a lot of I think this was like maybe 23 or something. There was a lot of Lightning stuff you were
Yeah.
talking about. So,
Yeah. So that's basically it, how I dive into design and Bitcoin.
okay, that's so interesting. Yeah, because that's probably different than a lot of people, I think. Although maybe that's not true, because a lot of people get into product design from so many different ways.
Yeah.
Like, I would be willing to bet most people aren't traditionally trained. The vast majority are not.
And what would be traditionally trained?
It's a good question. Like, I guess some schools have like an HCI thing, like I think, but it's not very common, you know. So
yeah.
Okay. So I guess maybe the path we can go down that I've been very curious about, and I do want to talk to Skylar about this at some point too, is this whole like freelance, not just like freelance designing, but then freelance within Bitcoin, and then like pros and cons, because I know you're exposed to people that are not freelance as well, and you're aware of that model, and you're aware of like benefits and the downsides. So how has that been for you, I guess, like freelance working for Bitcoin startups, I guess?
Okay, yeah. I would say majority of the Bitcoin startup I worked for, they didn't have a designer. So I was either often like the first one, or they had some designers in the past that they hired and I was a new one, or things like that. I would say most of the Bitcoin startups were really engineer heavy, and that there was not a clear process, you know, from design to launch as well. And that depending on the size of the company, but often everybody wanted to be involved in the design.
Yeah.
And
it's the easiest thing you can like visually see and be like, nitpick and change things. And
yeah. And I kind of vote more for a monarchy approach. You know, there was this, I mean, I'm deviating.
No, please.
There was this great client. Honestly, I was like impressed. They managed me. It was like 3 guys, super fast to reply, but their whole business was like 24/7, like available for help. And they always like agreed between each other first, and there was always one guy communicated to me.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I was like, wow.
So it wasn't chaos. It was like...
No, it wasn't chaos. It was like very easy to follow, I guess. But
you want to mention who that is, or you'd rather keep it?
I'm gonna.
You don't have this. Okay, it's okay.
No. I can give a shout out to the Bitcoin company.
Okay, Bitcoin company. Shout out, friends of friends of all of us. Hey, so Sahil from the future. Just really quick interjection. We were talking here about the Bitcoin Way, which is another company, not the Bitcoin company. So again, it's what we meant to say was the Bitcoin Way, not the Bitcoin company. Anyway, back to the show.
Yeah,
That's
I
good.
hope they're doing well. It's been
They're crushing it from what I hear.
yeah,
They're
no,
doing
they're
really
great.
well.
And what is how it's been?
Well, okay, but on that topic, so you're working with these startups that are generally engineering heavy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a designer.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of like that monarchy process, for lack of a better way of saying it. Like, because I'm trying to think of how do you convince them that number one, decisions are important, that design is important,
Mm-hmm.
that your decisions are important and they're correct, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
How does that work? I don't know.
Well, a certain point, sometimes when you have a lot of people that want to get involved, you get sort of stuck in that loop and you keep iterating and iterating and you're not really moving forward. So when I see that, I usually mention to the team, hey, we've been doing this, and this. I think it's time to wrap it up. And often, I remember one client specifically, and I just told them up front, I was like, I need less people. Like, I feel I'm wasting your money with so many iteration. I don't mind doing it. I really don't.
Yeah.
I'm still getting paid.
Yeah.
But I feel it would be more beneficial for you if you had less people deciding what needs the priorities and all that. So I've been very upfront oftentimes. And also being able to identify, okay, who are the key shareholders in the design process that, yes, we need, their opinion. I would think, the CEO, if he's that involved in the product, a person from engineering.
Yeah.
And maybe not a product person, especially in a startup. I feel a designer and a product could just be smashed together.
Yeah. Maybe like marketing or something. I don't know.
Yeah, someone that has some type of marketing research.
Yeah.
Or like customer service.
Yeah.
And I feel 3 people is enough. And, and all these different individuals, it's their job to collect whatever input they have from their team. And then we move forward. And probably someone that has a veto if something we don't agree on,
So you're almost like coaching them for how to get the most effective output, I guess, right? You kind of have to do that, otherwise.
No, I don't have to do it. Like a freelancer, it's kind of a consultant. So it depends also how open the startup is and how the political side of the startup as well. Because we can't, these companies are run by people.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to get along with them and also be able to convince them.
So you can have like big personalities that might make the process more challenging. That's what you mean? Like,
well, or if the process was always done a certain way, or if, for example, the engineering team has the heaviest weight on how the product is done, that can definitely influence.
Yeah, I've been there where it's like, I don't know if this is what you mean, but maybe if there's an established process or lack of process, where maybe engineering is just like, we're just going to build this and we're going to do whatever we feel like.
Exactly.
And maybe you've made this great plan.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, I guess, we're not doing that anymore.
And also regarding convincing for a certain design decision, like I feel designers talk a lot about research, but the Bitcoin startups, they don't have the money for it.
No.
It takes time. When you want to act fast, research is going to slow you down. So I often relied on second sources or telling them, oh, well, this company X did this for their UX and this is the result that they got. Or naming something from the Norman Nielsen group. I've been having like these huge like UX reports about different things and then referring to them as a secondary source since I don't have the access to the primary source.
That makes sense because sometimes it feels like a lot of Bitcoin products, they don't have to be, and I'm not saying that's what your goal is, but I'm just thinking out loud. It seems like a lot of products they don't need an A+ like Stripe, like Airbnb. They just need to go from like a D to like a B+. Like it just needs to not be crap.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's what a lot of teams want. They're just like, I just need this to not be shit.
Yeah. And I mean, not to give shade or anything, but
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
they don't have design experience or
Yeah,
the
yeah.
design visual.
Mhm.
I mean, they can say, I like this, but not naming what makes it look good.
Mhm.
Since they don't have design experience, they know something is wrong with their product, but they don't know how to elevate it. And sometimes, like you said, they just need a little bit of elevation and it makes the whole difference.
Okay. So do you kind of feel like that freelance has worked for you and then you want to maybe keep doing that? Or are you thinking, have you thought about like a full-time thing, or just at this point in your life, this makes more sense?
At this point in my life, this makes more sense.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been thinking like, oh, working for, I mean, I kind of had the chance to work at a company for long term, like being a freelancer or a returner and kind of being with a company for like a year,
Yeah.
get it. But at this time around, it makes more sense for me to be a freelancer.
Mhm.
But I would definitely love to work with a team of designers.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's very fun and it just like pushes you in a different way and you learn so much as well. And yeah.
Hey, just a really quick break to tell you about the Studio 21 newsletter. If you're interested in Bitcoin and design, every month I highlight a few key pieces of Bitcoin or design related news or education. I think you're really going to find it valuable. So if you're interested, take a look. Go to sahilc.com/newsletter, give it a subscribe, and look forward to seeing you there. Now back to the episode. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I had a little time period where I was doing that as well, the freelance stuff. And
sometimes the context switching is
the
hard.
context switching is hard, and you have to set your own schedule, which is fine. I think that's great.
Yeah.
But there's something about like being on a team on a singular mission that's just like, there's something about that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's trade-offs, I guess, pros and
Mhm.
cons.
And I feel you probably could do like deeper work if you work for a company, you know, for 2 years and
You're just
you know.
obsessed with that problem space. I guess.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm curious to get Skylar's thoughts as well, like from his point of view, what is his opinion? But another thought I had, okay, so kind of related, when you're at a company, there's company or freelance,
Mhm.
there's always like you're building product, you're designing stuff. There's always a point where you say, this is good enough.
Mhm.
Here's like the bar of polish or quality that we're okay with.
Yep.
I feel like that's going to be different freelancing, right? It's going to be, it seems like resource constraints are much higher.
Yep.
It's much tighter, maybe. So how do you feel
Yep.
about like the bar of, okay, this is good enough, we're done, versus
Mhm.
just like, we got to keep iterating, and I don't know. What do you
It's
think about
all it's honestly the money will tell.
that? Yeah, exactly.
You know, how much the clients wants to iterate. I'm doing my best to get it for the first time.
Yeah.
What you're telling me doesn't happen every time, but usually I always ask a couple of questions before starting the project, giving some references from the outside, just making sure I'm really like in the direction that they want me to go. And usually I get it under 1 or 2 tries. It's honestly like how much they pay me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it will tell them, oh, okay, yeah, we've been asking like for way too much, or
Yeah.
and also every time I show an iteration, like I tell the client, you asked me to do this,
Mhm.
here it is.
Mhm.
And in that way I ensure that we're not going too far. And usually like the clients are really good, like
Yeah.
they don't want to keep iterating, especially at the startup stage.
Oh, for sure.
You know, they want to move forward and get their product out there.
Although it's interesting now that you say that, everything you said, word for word, almost sounds like being a designer at a company too. Because even if it's not literal, like I'm being paid for my time, I guess, like per hour or whatever the pricing is.
Yeah.
I guess in a certain sense, if there is a constraint of like time, which is money, so maybe it is closer than I originally thought.
Yeah.
And maybe there's less of a distinction. I get maybe it's just more obvious with freelance works, like the expense is literally coming out, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's more obvious that
Yeah.
usually a freelancer are paid a little bit higher than the employee per hour. So that can influence that.
Yeah, maybe you feel the pain more, I guess.
Yeah, and also like with the startups that I've been working with, they've been always like around 5 people or even like 20. Like the biggest I had maybe 20, 15 people working. And I think you feel it more when the money runs out, especially when the money runs out.
Oh yeah, of course.
And especially in the bear market.
Oh, it's brutal. I mean, that's
so Whereas I think Unchain or let's say Cash App,
Uh-huh.
I think they have bigger funding,
Oh, Cash App, definitely.
you know.
Definitely.
So they can, you
Yeah.
know, make mistakes here and there, I guess.
Right.
But that's all. That's why also Cash App, when you look at their design, just their website, it's like, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe one direction we can go in is like, I guess, challenges, right? We talked about freelancing and stuff, but maybe just specifically Bitcoin. I like talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Challenges designing for Bitcoin stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be personalities, it could be like technical stuff, it could be whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun to talk about that because I'll tell you, some people's opinion is there's not really much of a difference.
Yeah.
And some, it's just a product and it's just like a financial thing. And some people are like, no, there is technical differences. So I don't know, in your experience, what have you seen?
What I've seen is maybe it's a little bit of a hot take, but I feel like for most Bitcoin product, like there's often this question of how do you explain this? How do you explain a seed phrase? How do you explain the whatever blocks that it takes? How do you explain the transaction is not like automatic? And I feel we can just boil it down to education, and just I feel this problem would get solved quicker if, let's say, a company had customer service people or having marketing people speaking directly to customers. Because how did you learn about Bitcoin? Probably from someone like
some YouTube or something.
YouTube or that. I don't think you had an app. I don't think you downloaded a Bitcoin app out of the blue and then you learn Bitcoin in the app.
I see.
So,
What? That was a dog on the trail. Gotta get tax in Austin here.
Yeah, I can think about the Blink wallet that was Bitcoin Beach before.
Yeah.
They wanted to redesign that wallet, the send and the receive flow. And I've done like 2 versions of the send flow and the receive flow. And when I tested it out, and we had like different, those little question mark to
like tooltips or whatever.
Yeah, tooltips and things like that. What I found is just there's not enough time for someone to get it under 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Especially
in this mobile context where you're just like, I just need to send the thing. I just press the button.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I feel you can just, let's say they are not aware transaction takes 10 minutes. Maybe the app should just say the transaction is going to arrive in 10 minutes. And if you have any question, contact this customer service person and they're going to be available.
So almost using customer support or marketing as the explanation rather than maybe overwhelming the UI with just too much explanation, maybe.
Yeah, and there was a study like that Block put out there like a few years ago that people were more willing to buy Bitcoin and keep Bitcoin if they were more educated about Bitcoin. So I'm just kind of.
So would that be, do you think that's counter to what you're saying, or that's addition to what you're saying?
It's addition to what I'm saying.
Okay.
That if they know more about Bitcoin first, then it's just going to be easier to use whatever app you're designing for.
By the way, we can turn around from here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I guess the other side of that would be, and I don't have a strong opinion, but the other side would be like in context education could help. But then maybe that's just so much that it's like, because you're right, a lot of these more technical apps will explain, maybe over explain, and then it's like, I don't need to know this. Why are you?
And especially when someone enters the app, when you enter the app, you just want to touch everything. And see how it works.
I do that.
So just need to make the app works. And also there was other consideration, like technical consideration for Bitcoin Beach wallet that we couldn't do because in El Salvador, the internet, the Wi-Fi, whatever, is not working the best. If we have, for example, like a video in the mobile app explaining whatever, we can't. It just takes too much power on the phone.
You have to consider that stuff when you're
exactly
on the app. Okay.
And what were the other challenges that?
Yeah, what other, if you can say, what other like companies, or like maybe that'll help brainstorm like what other challenges, or just interesting stuff.
Yeah, other things more, I guess, on the web design side, like like a website or something like that, especially around Bitcoin. Oftentimes, when you try to sell your product, whatever, they use like generic sentences that don't really mean much. I don't have one that come up to mind, but often what I had to do is like essentially do copywriting and make sure that the benefits of the company are put forward. And often like too much text, like too much copy,
100%.
and people are just like skimming through, So I've been like kind of a copywriter without knowing. And also the company not mentioning, you always have a reason why not to use a product. And of the time, like on the website page and all that, they don't address those blockage. They don't address like how they can solve these problems that people have. For example, one of that is like, let's say you want to store your Bitcoin. One of the blockages, I'm not an expert, to do it and all that. And then one sentence that I wrote was something like, will help you become an expert, just bypassing whatever, what's the word in English?
Like
when you do a debate, like
like your argument. You're debating with someone.
Yeah, basically fighting off their arguments.
Oh, do you mean like you're trying to like empathize and see their point of view and say what are
exactly
what are their what are their concerns going to be? And then get ahead of it.
Exactly.
So you're almost doing like product. I wouldn't say product marketing, but you're also like copywriting. You're thinking about all of that.
Yeah,
that makes sense. I've definitely seen that. I get what you're saying. Where kind of a generic selling point and all these different things and tightening that up. Yeah, definitely lots of copy. I mean, even when I was working with Skylar for a little bit on some Fetty stuff, every time I showed him a screen, he would like roast the copy and be like, cut out like 80% of this. And he was always right.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I wasn't very good at copy either at the beginning, so I get it.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to show it to someone else and be like,
Yeah,
or try iteration, like make it. I guess now with ChatGPT, you just like make it two sentences max, or one sentence max, one phrase.
Yeah. Oh, I use like ChatGPT for copywriting like so much.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I was like, okay, give me like 15 shorter.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it was great.
Actually, have you used much AI stuff for designing lately? I mean, I guess design tooling is not that big yet in terms of AI, but
yeah, I've been playing a little bit, with Figma and the AI stuff that they gave. Basically, they were using like some past plugins that integrated in Figma.
Oh, maybe like a diagram and those guys. I don't know if you know that. Jordan Singer had some stuff. Yeah. And they got acquired by Figma, and maybe that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, but I've been using it mostly like for copying and imagery.
Yeah.
Like Midjourney, for example, and just trying to get ideas, just to make my brainstorming process quicker.
Yeah.
So I've been using mostly for that. But it's crazy where it goes. I had an engineer telling me that he was building like a form and that had multiple steps in it. And he had like a save button, but he wasn't like satisfied how the UX was. And then he just told like AI, can you make this UX better?
Oh.
And then he just coded and made it better too. And it has all these like magical design elements.
Guys, I think we're out of the job. We're out of the job now, guys. Wait, do you remember if that was Claude or like V0 or something? It might have been V0.
I don't remember, but I can tell you. I can ask him. And
no worries. I can add it in the show notes or something.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, and that person was telling me like I'm almost not coding. Well, you say that like we're gonna be out of a job, but I feel people are gonna design more.
Oh, you're so right. You're so right. I think it feels like we're swinging. There was a pendulum of like, should designers code, and then like, designers are gonna be out of a job because everyone can just code and do anything.
Yeah.
And then now it's like almost swinging to the other way, where if you can think of the idea, you can build it with the help of these tools. So it really is like the design and the taste and the craft that maybe matters more. I mean, that's oversimplifying, obviously. Like, but
No, I get what you mean.
Yeah, that's pendulum is always interesting
Yeah,
because people have been talking about this for so long.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I just think though, like AI at the stage that is at, the people who benefit the most from it are people that kind of have a good experience, either in engineering or in design.
Mhm.
They understand profoundly what makes a good design, and they're able to judge what the AI input is giving. Is it right or wrong? The only thing that AI cannot do, I mean, can do right now, but maybe will do in the future, is to link, let's say, two subjects that are totally disparate. And I think maybe we're gonna see more surge of people who are generalists, or maybe a specialized generalist, like someone that knows like 2 or 3 subjects very well. Let's say motion design, UX, and research, and they just
Like a T-shaped kind of thing where you're really good at a couple things, and then you kind of generally know everything else. Yeah, I think even generally, like I've thought of that is even if it's not AI, freelancers are a great place where a generalist can augment. I don't know, maybe this sounds reductive, but like specialized freelancers can be like a human AI. That's the wrong way. That's a very terrible way of phrasing it, but you could think of it that way. Like if I just need a motion designer, my team can have one generalist T-shape, and then I can get the help of an illustrator or a motion designer or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, especially smaller teams, like most Bitcoin companies.
And I had to be like a generalist, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I had to work like on product and then web and then graphic design
Copywriting.
Yeah. And so I'm very much a generalist, I would say, in terms of designer. Like I think I'm more a cowboy designer than.
Whoa. Wait, what does that mean? Cowboy designer?
I mean, someone that's kind of gets the job done, you know?
I like it.
I wouldn't say I'm the most like visually talented, or you see on Twitter those like beautiful design jobs.
It's so intimidating. It's so intimidating.
I don't think I'm at that level, but I can definitely make it better.
Yeah.
And then I can make it work. And also a reason why I say cowboy designer is I can learn when I need to learn and on the go. There's so many projects. Okay, I probably should not say this.
We could beef it up and say it.
But there's so many projects, like I was like, I don't know how to do that. And then I thought, yes, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then I just learn on YouTube like how to do it.
That's so true.
And then scramble something together and done.
I did the same thing. I'll be vulnerable as well. I did the same thing with a project with Framer. I mean, there's nothing that was fundamentally difficult, I would say, but the tool itself was my first time doing it, and I was like, yeah, of course I can do this. Yeah. Are you kidding me? And then I was like, oh crap, I gotta figure this out. So yeah, I agree. It's so cliche. Everyone's like, fake it till you make it, but you kind of have to, I feel like.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
And especially as a freelancer, sometimes you ask to do jobs that were not like originally planned for. And when you have the opportunity, you just, I'll do it. And
it's funny because I think my instinct first, when I first started doing like a little bit of freelancing, not for that long, but a little bit, my instinct was always like, that's not my thing. So I'm not going to do it. Sorry, guys, you can find someone else to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, respectfully, obviously, not in a mean way, but just, that's not my thing. But I think somewhere along the way, I was just like, I can figure this out. Like even branding was something I was never considered myself as like a creative brand designer. And there was one project where I was just like, what if I just said yes and tried it out? What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
And so that really like, that mindset shift, I feel like made me grow a lot. So
that's
I don't know.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
Any other like hot takes? You don't have to, but anything that comes to mind, or maybe even while you're thinking, like either hot takes or maybe pet peeves, right? You're working with, and we've talked a lot about this, but just engineers, you're working with a CEO or something, designer.
Hot takes like in the design industry, the Bitcoin industry, or
could be both actually. Yeah, maybe from a design point of view, like not scaling debate kind of.
Okay.
That kind of hot take. Hey, just a really quick break to tell you about the Studio 21 newsletter. If you're interested in Bitcoin and design, every month I highlight a few key pieces of Bitcoin or design related news or education. I think you're really going to find it valuable. So if you're interested, take a look. Go to sahilc.com/newsletter, give it a subscribe, and look forward to seeing you there. Now back to the episode.
Well, the only kind of hot take that comes to mind right now is nobody's gonna want to hire me after this.
That's okay.
But I think there's, in the Bitcoin space, a lot of people are about low time preference.
Yeah.
And, we got to think about the future and all time. But often those Bitcoin companies or Bitcoin personalities, they are not low time preference. I'm sorry, they're very high time preference. And to be the devil's advocate here, I guess it's a startup.
Yes.
You need stuff to be done. But yeah, it's different when you are in reality, I guess, and need stuff to be done.
It's almost like maybe there's a macro or a high level view of like, low time preference, but then when reality hits the fan, it's like, maybe I don't want to say cut corners, but it's like you have to maybe you don't have less of a low time preference.
But you often see it like when it's the bear or the bull market, right? In the bull market, jobs are crazy, everyone wants to do stuff, you hire left and right. And then the bear market hits, and now, oh shit, I don't have enough, like I need to do another investment round or things like that. So that's why I'm always also advocating for smaller team, because it's just like easier, I think, to go through these like crazy cycles when you have a smaller team.
Yeah, because it's brutal when you overhire and then you have to fire a bunch of good people. It's like, a lot of us have been through that, and it's just not fun. It's
No,
it sucks.
Another hot take. People that think that Bitcoin's gonna go to 1 million this year are the ones that need it the most, and are the ones that don't have enough Bitcoins. But
so it's like their copium. They're just like, please.
Yeah. And I guess another hot take. I feel I would, the education problem around Bitcoin and all that, I wouldn't rely on the app so much to explain what Bitcoin is.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
What are your hot takes?
My hot takes. Oh, that's a good question. I feel like, what have I said in the past? Because I do like to talk about this with people. I guess it's not a hot take, but it's something that Paul, co-host of Design Club in Austin, we tend to butt heads on this a lot in a nice way, but like, it's kind of similar to your over-explaining thing, where most people just don't care about these things. And I think everyone says that. It's an easy thing to say, but I think people who are maybe missing that, you have to really step out of the Bitcoin bubble and just talk to normal people. And you could yell at them all you want about self-sovereignty and personal responsibility, but it's a very autistic thing to do. Like, I mean, to be frank, it doesn't fly, it doesn't work. And maybe it will for some small percent, and you'll convert them to become like Samurai wallet users. But for the rest, you're just going to scare them away. And one perspective is cry harder, you'll find it at the price you deserve. The other is just like, okay, let's just make it easy for you to just get started, and then we can work on it later over time. I'm not gonna, so I'm like, these days I'm just like, just get River, keep it on there until it's an amount that you'd cry if you lost. And we can talk about Unchained or BitKey or whatever. But I don't know, I feel like overthinking it becomes too much. And once people have a lot of money, they have skin in the game and they feel like they want to learn more.
Exactly.
But if you have nothing and you're like, I have to spend $1,000 on hardware wallets to even start. So I don't know, I'm rambling now, but you got me fired up, so.
No, I get it. And I remember when I started in Bitcoin and learning more about Bitcoin, I was really overwhelmed. Like, I didn't, and I had someone really explaining to me like thoroughly, and I could refer to that person like all the time. And still, even then, like, I felt it was like a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Speaking of, I guess, learning new stuff, how do you, like, new design stuff, right? Especially these days, I feel like every day there's a new design tool or like something new that's coming out. The other day I saw like Cursor for designers, where you can, Cursor, the coding tool, there's like a version of that for designers. You can just edit stuff and whatever. I mean, how are you like staying up to date? Is it Twitter, podcasts? Like, what do you do?
It's mostly Twitter, I would say. And
like design Twitter?
Yeah, design Twitter. I do like to refer also to go to the Bitcoin design.
Okay, so Twitter, there's Bitcoin design Slack or Discord.
And often I have a bunch of courses that I bought from the past.
Oh yeah.
And often they get updated with new stuff. And so I will refer to that as well. And this is about how I learned.
Nice.
But I also like to go outside of the design and different type of design, like I really like architecture
Oh
and
yeah.
how to design like a good home. And I don't know if it's useful for my work, whatever, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. Are you thinking like interior design or maybe the art structural thing or maybe both, I guess? I don't know.
Kind of both, what makes it a good UX in the home, let's say the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like what's a good flow of a kitchen, Like I feel nowadays the kitchens are way too small.
Oh,
Like when I'm cooking like I'm cooking, give me a big stove, give
yeah.
me a big pan. Yeah. But maybe that's what's the word? When things gets like smaller and smaller because our money is
Oh, like
shit.
shrinkflation or
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah,
So
exactly.
the shrinkflation of kitchens.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. So maybe to start to wrap things up, I guess.
Okay.
We don't have to, but we can.
All right.
A very open-ended question, kind of tied to maybe the hot takes that both of us talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see, like, I guess, Bitcoin design going forward from here? Just based on what you've seen, I guess, what we've all seen, just the challenges and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the way we're going? Do you not like the way we're going in terms of the UX?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Well, if I like where we're going or if I don't like where we're going. I mean, especially what I've seen like in developing countries when they're adopting Bitcoin, let's say El Salvador. Obviously I like the way where it's going. I do see a world though, like it's not gonna some people fantasize about Bitcoin only. I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon.
Meaning like maximalism versus other
Yeah,
coins kind of thing.
I will always see like I think for a while like Bitcoin and USD together
Mm-hmm.
and people using tools that expose their money to Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I see it's gonna go, and I think it's gonna get more and more popular, especially with the different like rumors of different countries having Bitcoin reserves.
Yeah.
And all that. So
Can they announce it already?
yeah,
Pump my bags.
just say it.
Oh yeah, we all know. Just you can say it.
Yeah, and also it's not really related to your question, but it's kind of not advantages for Bitcoin if I guess like all the countries have Bitcoin reserve because Bitcoin does benefit of the inflation of the USD, right? So, we always like to see the price higher and higher and Bitcoin being 100K and then Bitcoin being 150 and
Yeah.
So yeah, this is where I see like for the next years
See it
still
going.
still coexisting together.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I had this idea I'll tell you about later that was kind of in that vein of all the other assets existing in a world where Bitcoin is there. Anyway, I'll tell you about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess okay, that's where Bitcoin's going. Where do you see like maybe just to wrap it up, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see you going next in terms of Bitcoin design?
Yeah.
What are you looking for? Are you looking for clients? Are you not right now?
Uh-huh.
And maybe just where you're trying to grow next, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a lot, but
definitely. Well, I had a son, so
yeah,
trying to figure out how to encompass balance motherhood and work and
you've been very busy.
and all that. So I'm not 100% clear yet, but like right now I chose not to work. But if I were to go back, and I'm letting that like open ended, I think probably I would want to work like 10, 15 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then take care of my son because he's only young once and work, there's always going to be work. But I think if I just have like 10, 15 hours a week just to keep me in the loop and keeping my skills like updated, because definitely, with AI coming up, it's something that I have in mind and I'm kind of, I don't need to work, but we'll see. So I haven't decided yet, but that could be an entire other episode podcast. But
No,
I don't think you want to hear that.
No. We should definitely do a part two.
No, it's typical female
okay, I got you.
challenges.
I got you. Okay. Well, if any of my millions of listeners are listening and they're like, we really want to work with you, then definitely reach out anyway. And then if, maybe it'll make sense.
Yeah.
That seems like the right balance, I guess. I mean, what do I know? But I'm a single guy, but cool. Yeah, I guess that's kind of it. Thanks for walking with me and talking with me. I consider you a really good friend, and we've been friends for a while. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah, this is fun. It was a nice and cold day here because I told you we recorded episodes when it was really hot. And so this is really comfortable. But
Yeah.
any final words? Final thought?
Let's go Bitcoin.
Okay, I agree. I co-sign this message. All right. See you later.
See you later.
Okay, that's it for this walk and talk conversation on Bitcoin design. Hope you found something interesting from it. Hope you got some interesting nuggets. If you liked it, and if you want to, feel free to give it a review, share it with someone else who might find it interesting. And genuinely, if you have any feedback, I really, really want to hear about it, positive or negative. So find me on Twitter at SahilC0, and I look forward to seeing you next time.